That will shape the day. This is BBC World News and Asia Business Report.
Back from a national holiday, Hong Kong investors react to the ongoing protests. Mixing business with religion, a closer look at this growing trend in India. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Asia Business Report on BBC World News. I'm Rico Hizon. Hong Kong markets have just reopened for trade after a two-day national holiday. We'll be bringing you the opening numbers in a minute. But first, protesters in the territory are digesting the news that the government will meet them to discuss their demands. But Chief Executive Si-Wah Leung has announced he will not resign. The Hong Kong government has offered to open talks with student leaders focusing on political reforms. And early estimates from the bank ANZ are showing retailers in Hong Kong may have lost around $280 million worth of business because of the protest. Let's now take a look at the opening trades on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And the Hang Seng Index, according to pre-market numbers, is down more than 1%. That's 200 points. For his views, let's cross over now to Hong Kong and discuss the impact of the uncertainty with markets watcher Peter Churchouse. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. The market is down more than 1%. What can you say is to this kind of reaction from the Hong Kong investors?
Quite frankly, Rico, I'm surprised it's only down 1%, given that Europe was off about 2.5% yesterday. Japan was off very. America was weak. I'm surprised that Hong Kong's down only 1%. It was off 1.25% before the holiday on Tuesday. So quite frankly, I think we could have expected to see a 500 or 600 point decline given what's happening in the rest of the world.
So Peter, could the buffer have been the government making an effort to meet with the protesters?
Absolutely, Rico. I think that's a hugely important gesture, and hopefully it's more than just a gesture. It actually does lead to some kind of easing of the tensions, and one wonders why this didn't happen days ago or even last week before the protests really started. So let's hope. I think most people in Hong Kong are probably hoping that this leads to some kind of easing of tensions and life getting back to normal again.
But if these negotiations take on for another few days, the retailers are indeed suffering. According to this ANZ report, they may be losing already about $280 million.
That sounds like a bit of an exaggeration to me, quite frankly. We've already been seeing retail sales of slowing down over the last 6 months as Chinese tourism has slowed down with the anti-corruption drive in China, which means that we're not getting tourists coming across the border buying 20 Rolex watches and so on like was happening a year or so ago. And quite frankly, I think the protests are really happening in very concentrated areas. So
but Peter,
I can't think that had that big an impact.
Let's say if indeed there is a resolution to this case, but there's still a lot of uncertainty out there what China will do with Hong Kong going forward. This could also impact the key backbone components of the Hong Kong economy, which is the property sector and the finance and insurance industries.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's very clear. And I think that's the medium to longer term uncertainty. We all know that China basically controls Hong Kong. That's the reality that people here have to live under. But I think there is a lot of reason for China to tread fairly softly here. Hong Kong and China, there is a symbiotic relationship, and I think that it would be very foolhardy to destroy that.
Hong Kong market watcher Peter Churchouse, thank you so much for your insights on the market opening. And for the latest developments on the protests underway in the territory,